I always felt most drawn to convincing the skeptics and the people that were like, oh, yeah, I'll drink this tea every day for 2 weeks, but like, I'll forget. I doubt it's going to do anything. And I noticed that when I brought up that something was smokable, like if they brought up that they smoked, then like their ears would put up and they'd be like, oh, you can smoke it? Oh, does it get you high? And it's like, okay, yeah, it gets you high and that it makes you not go over your to-do list when you're lying in bed and can't sleep.
This show is brought to you by Mountain Rose Herbs. Mountain Rose Herbs is committed to putting people, plants, and planet before profit in everything they do. They work hand in hand with farm partners to provide the highest quality organic herbs, spices, extracts, teas, essential oils, and DIY fare. So please visit mountainroseherbs.com for all your herbal product needs. Okay, here we go with Herbal Radio.
This week's episode features Lian Bruno. Lian is a clinically trained herbalist, holistic health educator, writer, and founder of Puff Herbals, a brand redefining smoking rituals with tobacco-free, cannabis-free herbal alternatives.
When did herbalism just become, the thing for you?
I would say ever since I was a kid, really,
Yeah.
but I didn't kind of choose to dive in until my early 20s.
Were you around
But
Were you around herbalism when you were young?
So I was around plants a lot.
Mhm.
My dad has a master's in plant physiology.
Ah.
And we go on a lot of walks around the neighborhood. So it'd be a lot of like, oh, this is wormwood, what plant, or this is sumac, what plants were growing in the cracks of the sidewalk or along the train tracks. We had mapped out the two-ripple mulberry trees in Medford, and so we'd always bring like buckets and forage those, and people would give us weird looks.
Right.
And then we were a big gardening family, so my chore was always weeds as a little one. And I loved chamomile tea, so we grew that, and it spread like crazy. And so then all of a sudden I was like drying chamomile and storing it.
Oh.
And
At what age? You're like pretty young?
Like 8
Oh,
or
wow.
younger.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Mm-hmm. I just some of my earliest memories are being in the dirt weeding and like, oh, there's a little grub, and like, oh, there's this root and that one looks different. I was always just very like looking at the little fine details of plants and from a young age.
Yeah. And then it just blossomed from there.
Why? I enrolled in a clinical herbalism apprenticeship, I think when I was 23 or 24. 2014 is when I joined. And I did it at Commonwealth Holistic Herbalism. And it was in the Boston area at the time. I think they're just online now. But yeah, I just felt absolutely head over heels for it. And it like changed my life. It changed the way that I eat. All of these things and like ways that I was feeling, after learning about nutrition and herbalism, I was like, oh, wait, is this how regular people with energy feel like all the time? Like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Right. So, even at like, say, teenage years, were you thinking I'm going to be an herbalist when I get, or was that one of those things?
Well, not so much in the teenage years, although I was very much like an outdoor kid, like digging around in the dirt in the garden, and I'd go to like sleepaway camps as a kid. Teenage not so much. College, I started smoking a lot of cannabis in college, and I guess that kind of maybe laid the foundation for Puff Herbals.
Right.
But it actually wasn't until my second year of my clinical herbalism apprenticeship that it came up that you could even smoke a lot of the herbs that we had been learning about.
Yeah.
And then that was like the light bulb moment for me, and like the spark that kind of turned into Puff Herbals.
So when you're obviously you're taking these herbs other ways as well, but at that point you realize, oh, smoking is a way uh to sort of get the medicine that you're wanting out of the plants. Um that was this light bulb moment for you. So were there a lot of people doing that at the moment?
No, I at the time I remember like syrups were my favorite
Yeah.
medicine to make and take, and I had been making, tinctures and tea blends and like chai mixes, and I was big on syrups, and I'd call it Bruno's Botanicals, and I would just do kind of hand-drawn labels, and then I would have friends over like around the holidays and do like a little open house
Mm.
like at my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the second year of the apprenticeship. The first year was like the foundations, and then the second year was more advanced
And who
study.
did you do the apprenticeship with?
Commonwealth Holistic Herbalism.
Okay.
So Kai Swift and Rin Madeira.
Okay.
And in the second year, it was more advanced study, and then we were also going over client case studies because they were a school and a clinic.
Uh-huh.
And we were over this one case study of this woman who, among other things, is trying to quit smoking cigarettes.
Mm.
And Rin was her herbalist, and he, as part of her overall protocol, custom formulated a smoking blend just for her
Mm-hmm.
to address why was she smoking, like why was she reaching for a cigarette? When was she reaching for one? What was it relieving her of
Mm-hmm.
and in her life at that time?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the real first introduction that you could smoke these plants. And, this was a year and a half into my study,
Mm-hmm.
and it had just never even occurred to me. Even though I was smoking cannabis, at home.
Right. Right.
We hadn't been learning about cannabis in the apprenticeship.
Mm-hmm.
Kaya is anaphylactically allergic to cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just not really an herb in the apothecary at the school.
Mm-hmm.
And when it came up that, a lot of nervines mostly, but a lot of the herbs that we had been learning about were also smokable, and kind of just as you would make a tincture, and like maybe vodka is the Menstruum, on like fire or smoke could also be the type of Menstruum,
Mm-hmm.
like that carries the constituents
Mm-hmm.
Into your lungs and get into your bloodstream
Right.
that way.
Right.
And that really blew my mind. And so then I started going home, and I would call it tossing a salad. So I started mixing different herbs in with my cannabis.
Yeah.
And it made me realize, how anxious cannabis actually made me feel.
Oh,
And
so you were
'cause when I
immediately
was-
starting to see a difference.
Oh, 100%.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would put in skullcap and passion flower. And then I was like, oh, I'm not kind of ruminating on this thing that happened at work today.
Yeah.
Or if I put catnip in, I'm not getting like the tightness in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I can't take like low, deep
Mhm.
breaths.
Yeah.
Or if I put in chamomile, maybe it helps that little stomach rumble kind of ease.
Interesting.
And yeah.
Yeah, because cannabis for me, I tried it a couple times. I'm a paranoid android on cannabis.
Well, I realized that, like, I think in the culture, especially in the past 10 years or so, as it's been legalized in more and more places, there's this kind of big cultural push to, like, oh, you should smoke a joint at the end of the day to relax.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I found I really need to be de-stressed.
Mhm.
I can't use it as something to de-stress me. You know what I mean?
That's interesting that you were starting to feel something different happening once the herbs were introduced.
Yes. Yeah. And what's really interesting kind of convenient about smoking is that the effects of whatever herbs or whatever constituents are in whatever you're smoking, you feel them practically instantly.
Okay. Yeah.
You inhale something, it gets into the lungs, and then it's in your bloodstream immediately, and like your heart pumps one time and it's in your brain. And so it's can be really great for anxiety. Or if you're someone like me where, I do enjoy cannabis and the effects of cannabis, but sometimes it comes with these like quote unquote side effects of the rumination or the circular thoughts or like the tightness or the tension. And I found that if I blended in different herbs, then it was kind of just the nice high, really. Or the nice or the desirable effects.
Right. Right. Well, that's interesting. I always thought with tinctures, with the alcohol, like how much of an effect was the alcohol also causing, in the sense of like when you're taking a tincture, you're also sort of maybe not a shot of alcohol at that, maybe not that much, maybe like some people like use that much, but I think that I've often wondered, like, are they feeling the effects of the plant or versus are they feeling the effects of the alcohol itself? And that's sort of interesting in the thought that with the cannabis, like this was a way for you to feel just the parts of the cannabis that you were really hoping to get out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so go ahead.
I'm going to say to your point about, is it also the alcohol? I think we do kind of have this association, like you have a sip of alcohol like that. For me, honestly, it's really that first sip, which I kind of
really? That transitions out. Yeah.
And then, kind of the more and more that I drink it, the worse I feel, honestly. But it's really that kind of that first sip that kind of signals to me like, okay, it's time to relax, like at the end of the day. And I think smoking can also be that for a lot of people. It's like, okay, it's break time.
Well, I agree with you. I think that, and I want to go back to what you were talking about earlier when you were talking about being in school and in the clinic was helping someone to stop smoking cigarettes, and they introduced smoking herbs. Can you talk a little bit more about the thinking behind that, the strategy behind that?
Yeah, so people that are addicted to nicotine or smoking cigarettes, there's so much more to it than just getting like your nicotine fix. You're taking a step outside for 10 minutes and you're just kind of standing there or you're just sitting there and it's a nice little break, having to actually go outside. Like maybe you're stepping away from your computer, you're stepping away from your phone. And it can, for people that have become very reliant upon that ritual to calm them down, can be very jarring to just kind of yank it away entirely. And especially when there's a nicotine addiction involved. It can be hard to just really stop cold turkey. So the strategy that my teacher Rin employed was, okay, take this blend, roll your own, maybe you start with 75% loose leaf tobacco and 25% of this herbal blend. And you smoke those for a few days or a week or something. And then once you get used to that, if the herbs feel agreeable to you, you like the flavor, and then maybe the next week you do 50% tobacco and 50% herbs. And then that way you can kind of like titrate down from there.
Sure.
And so you're weaning yourself off of the nicotine, but at the same time, you're still preserving that ritual. And that can just make the transition a lot more easier for folks.
Interesting. Yeah. So tobacco as a plant though. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I've always been curious in like tobacco as a plant and as a medicinal in itself, right? Um, so people smoking tobacco, and that's obviously not good for you, but is it all of the other additives that are put into cigarettes that is, I think I hear that there's tar that's put in, or um I don't know all of the different additives that they put into cigarettes. I really don't know everything. I don't smoke myself, so I've never really tried to study it at all. But is that what's the harmful effect of cigarettes?
So it's a few things.
Okay.
So I am not necessarily 100% anti-tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you think about the tobacco leaf
Mm-hmm.
and the conventional like cigarette that you can buy, like the Marlboro cigarette,
Mm-hmm.
those are completely different things, right? Like if you're growing your own tobacco, you're curing it yourself, you roll your own that you enjoy like once or twice a week.
Yeah.
I honestly like don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
But the kind of modern, pretty new in terms of human history invention of the conventional cigarette is designed to get you addicted.
Mm.
And the additives do come into play there. They'll put in certain additives that make the nicotine hit your bloodstream way more quickly than it
Oh,
would if you
really?
just smoked tobacco leaf that you cured yourself.
Yeah.
So that gives you that rush way more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps you, that spikes your dopamine
Mm-hmm.
a lot more quickly.
Right.
And a lot more high, like a higher spike. And that makes you, that kind of gets you addicted. They'll put in like chlorine into the paper that makes the paper burn more slowly.
Okay.
So that it lasts longer. So
Yeah.
you're just getting kind of a higher spike and more of it, and it
Mhm.
lasts longer. And they give you 20 in a pack, and they, you buy
Yeah.
a pack, and
Right.
it once you open it, they're going stale in like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you gonna get your money's worth and
Mm.
smoke 5 a day or 4 a day for 5 days?
Yeah.
Or are you like, oh, these aren't they're like not hitting as good as they were, and then maybe
Right.
get another pack.
Right. Well, they also had those really, when I was a kid, the Marlboro Man up on his horse, in the middle of Wyoming.
Cool, right?
I wanted to be that dude.
Cool.
I was like, yeah, no, I want to do that. That looks right.
Rugged and manly
Yeah,
and
yeah.
American, very American.
Very American, not a worry.
Yes.
Like he just didn't
Freedom.
just pure freedom.
Effortless, cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, yeah, they don't tell you the other side of all of that. But so that's really interesting though. In the so with the tobacco and with nicotine, are there other plants that also have a nicotine that you is that something that people do they use any other herbs?
I'm not familiar with another plant that naturally contains nicotine,
Yeah.
although I'm pretty sure the nightshades, like I know tomatoes contain
Yep.
like a small trace amount.
Right.
But other than those types of plants, I'm not
I
familiar.
heard once, and I may be completely wrong, and I apologize if I am, that kinnikinick has a certain amount of nicotine in it. Because I know that was something that was
Which is
smoked.
uber earthy.
Right, uber
Yeah?
earthy, yeah.
Yes. I haven't heard that it contains nicotine. It does smoke very well.
Okay.
So I think it's a great smokable herb. If it did contain enough nicotine to actually feel the same, like have
Mhm.
anywhere close to the same effects as tobacco, then it would be highly regulated.
Yeah, probably. You're probably right. Absolutely. So what are some of the plants that you really love as far as smokables?
I love Damiana.
Ah, yes.
Or Yeah, Damiana is probably one of my favorite plants.
Mm-hmm.
It retains a lot of its oil content once dried, and so that makes it smoke very smooth.
Mm-hmm.
It also has this, I liken it to like a more woodsy black tea type of flavor.
Mm-hmm.
It's very high in this terpene cadmium,
Mm-hmm.
which essentially smells like wood. And it's very euphoric. It's a circulatory stimulant. So I always say, because I sell smokables, so I can't actually say certain things,
Right.
because I can't make the medical claims.
Right.
I operate as if I'm selling supplements, even though they,
Yeah.
from a regulatory standpoint,
Mhm.
aren't. But so I always say that it gives a warm and fuzzy body feeling
Mhm.
or high, and that's because of the circulatory stimulation effect. So I guess the blood moving to the periphery of the body.
Mhm.
It's very euphoric. It's probably the most euphoric when smoked, actually, even more so than a tincture or tea. And so it can kind of mimic like tobacco in that sense, in that it's like an earthy, herbaceous flavor profile, and it will kind of give that like mood boost
I
that
see. Yeah.
that tobacco can as well.
Yeah.
I also really like raspberry leaf. Raspberry leaf smokes very well because it's astringent, and astringent herbs add body to smoking goods. Very much in the same way, like if you think about like a sweet white wine or even a sweet red and then like a dry red, the dry has more tannins, so it has a lot more body. And so raspberry leaf and other astringent herbs add body to smoke as well.
Okay.
And anything with a lot of body, like Damiana, keeps of the oil content, raspberry leaf keeps of the astringency, will make the smoke feel more smooth, and you're going to feel less likely like you want to cough.
Right. Right. What about mullein?
Mullein should be in everything that you smoke.
Yeah.
I say this. I have it on the website. I say it all the time.
Yeah.
If you are going to smoke cigarettes or if you are going to smoke cannabis, just throw some mullein in there. Mullein is just fantastic. And oddly enough, everyone talks about mullein, how it's great for the lungs. You can smoke it, but it doesn't have a lot of body to it. So if you were to smoke it on its own, you're going to feel like you want to cough. It's going to feel very harsh.
Oh, okay.
So, but you want to put it in to whatever you're smoking.
I see.
And that will help.
So it's almost like a base that you're using with your other blends?
It should be part of your base.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So if, not to give away any of your trade secrets, but if you had a recipe, like a simple one for people listening that want to maybe try to make their own blend, what would it be?
Yeah. So a great base, I'd say, could be like 75% Damiana or 75% raspberry leaf, 25% mullein.
Okay.
There's your base. Then from there, you can add in flavors like lavender, mint, maybe a little bit of rose. Rose is another astringent that, will give you that nice, full, chillowy smoke. And then you can sprinkle in some supportives. So these are going to be your nervines, like skullcap, passion flower, catnip chamomile. I really like wood betony.
Oh,
anything.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wood betony I love because it gets you out of your head and down into your body.
Okay.
And one of the biggest reasons why people smoke is to do exactly that. So anything that you can put in there to kind of facilitate this break or just whatever intention it is that you're seeking. Lavender, great for bedtime. The mints are really great. Peppermint especially comes through probably the most, gives you that most minty flavor in smoke. I've tried to make spearmint work because I prefer the flavor of spearmint, but it just doesn't come through like peppermint.
Oh.
But mints are great for like that upward energy, creativity, conversation, socializing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend people rolling cigarettes and like a cigarette paper, or do you
It's
recommend like a pipe?
so if you like to roll,
Yeah.
then I encourage you to do that.
Mhm.
It just kind of adds this intentional, mindful moment to the ritual. You have to take a moment and
Mm.
look down, and you grind them up and you're rolling it, and you're just kind of
That always looked the coolest to
that
me.
moment.
People
Yeah.
rolling their cigarettes. I'm like, wow, that looks like
And
it's
it's cool,
so
right?
intentional, right? Yeah, yeah.
There
So
is
like,
like this
yeah.
cool factor to it that I feel like can't be ignored, because that is a big reason why people start smoking in the first place,
Mm,
if
right.
we're being honest. And, kind of my approach is like, teaching abstinence doesn't work, and I did a 3-year clinical herbalism apprenticeship. My original intention, seeing my teachers, was, I'll be a clinical herbalist. And so I was practicing for many years, and I always felt most drawn to convincing the skeptics
Mm,
and the people that were like, oh, I'll drink this tea every day for 2 weeks, but like, I'll forget. I doubt it's going to do anything.
yeah.
And I noticed that when I brought up that something was smokable, like if they brought up that they smoked, then like their ears would put up.
Sure.
And they'd be like, oh, you can smoke it? Oh, does it get you high? And then
Right. That's going
and
to be the
it's
next
like,
question.
okay, yeah, it gets you high, and that it makes you not go over your to-do list when you're lying in bed and can't sleep.
Right.
Like that's a type of high.
Sure. Of course. Of
And
course.
that, because of the instantaneous nature of the effects when you smoke,
Mhm.
I found that was actually a really great way to convince people that herbs actually did have effects.
Mhm.
And then from there, maybe it wasn't so hard to convince them to take a tincture 3 times a day for
Right.
2 weeks.
Right. So I want to talk about Puff Herbals a little bit because
Yeah.
I think that it takes a certain amount of tenacity to say, you know what, I have this passion about it's herbs or this even with you, it's like a very particular way to deliver herbs, right? And say, you know what, I want to turn this into a business. Like that's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
So where did that come from?
So the 3rd year of my herbalism apprenticeship, Ty and Rand were sponsoring Herbstock, which is
Mhm.
this local Boston area conference and big marketplace.
Yeah.
And because they were a sponsor, they had like a corner table, which was, bigger than anyone else's table.
Yeah.
And they came to us as the 3rd year advanced students, and they said, we have this big table. We don't need that much space. Do any of you, our students, want to come and sell like some products at the table?
Yeah.
And kind of, represent the school and, show that like we're fostering, budding herbalists in the world. And me and a friend of mine who, when it came up that a lot of these herbs were smokable, and we started talking about, cessation strategy and that ritual, she had mentioned that she used to be a pack-a-day smoker and had worked with herbs to quit. And I was coming more from the cannabis angle.
Right.
And
wait, did you smoke? Did you ever smoke cigarettes?
Not regularly, but I would out with friends socially.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I never, not enough to ever go buy them myself, like a pack myself.
Okay.
I would always just like bumps from
Right.
my friends.
Right.
And so we looked at each other and we said, oh, should we do smoking blends? Because we had been discussing it.
Oh, yeah.
And so like 3 nights before, we made a really basic website, made some super basic business cards, and then we bought a couple of these little handheld rolling machines that would like roll 1 cigarette at a time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we stayed up to like 3 or 4 in the morning the day before rolling all these cigarettes.
Wow.
And we had no packaging.
Right.
they were all loose, and we sold them for 50 cents each, and we just had them in these little wooden boxes that I got from the herbarium. I worked at the Harvard Herbarium at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just showed up, no, I don't think anyone knew we were even going to be there because we're at Cotton Room's table.
Yeah.
And I just remember there was a line at the table like the entire weekend, and we completely sold out. It's Saturday and Sunday. We completely sold out on the Saturday, and then we had to stay up till 3 a.m.
rolling more
one night to roll more to have some for Sunday.
Wow.
We were exhausted. But I was like, okay, there's something here. Like this idea has legs.
Yeah.
And something that I really liked about it was, I had started seeing clients as part of the program, and, just kind of thinking about like, how did I want to be an herbalist in the world? And, looking at my teachers, I said, oh, I'll just kind of do that. That makes sense. Like they have a successful business. But I found it very challenging. I'm pretty introverted, so like I can be on, but afterwards I'll just be like totally wiped.
Yeah.
And a good session with a client, if you really want to get into it, it's like 90 minutes to 2 hours. And
wow.
I found that it was tough because I was working full time. I was going to herb school, and then I was also in graduate school. And then I was seeing clients. So it was.
Wait, you were in a graduate school for another degree, or?
Yeah, for museum studies.
Wow, that's
at the
impressive.
Harvard, because I looked at Harvard at the time.
Okay,
and so you could take graduate level classes for like $40 each. And I was in the museum world, and I love that.
Yeah.
And I made every one of my assignments about herbalism and ethnobotany.
Yeah.
Because they have an amazing collection there.
Right.
At the herbarium.
Yeah.
But the reason why I bring this all up was I loved being at the table. And, we had the three blends in the beginning, kind of the three that I have now, essentially, but I've tweaked them since. But like tobacco alternatives and minty menthol alternative, and then like a bedtime cannabis alternative.
Yeah.
And people would come up and they'd say, "Oh, which blend should I choose?" And I'd say, "Well, do you smoke anything currently?
Yeah.
Like what do you smoke? What brand is it? When do you smoke? What time of day? Why do you like it?" And it was this little mini consult.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, "Oh, you should try this one. I think you'd like this one."
Yeah.
Or a lot of people would be like, "Oh, my mom smokes one cigarette every night, and I would much rather that she smoke one of these." And I liked how it was just like a consult, but just mini and a lot more manageable for like kind of my energy expenditure. And yeah, and then I really liked how a lot of people would go outside and smoke one, and then they come back and they'd be like, "Oh, I love this."
Oh.
And they could feel it immediately.
Right.
And I always, as I mentioned earlier, I really always just wanted to convince the skeptics about herbalism.
Right.
And I found like, oh, this is a way that they're like, wow, I feel this.
They feel
now.
it immediately. Exactly. Yeah. That's so interesting, of course. Right. So from there, then the business sort of took off?
So we showed up at these herb stock events for another year and a half. But we didn't really like build out the brand. I was so busy. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But we would do the events, and then once I finished my graduate program, I kind of took 6 months to be like, okay, I'm just going to work full time and just kind of do only that.
And this was in the museum world still?
Yes. Yeah. But then the whole time I kept thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that just felt so fulfilling. And I was like, man, it's just, people were so excited about it. even having never heard of it before.
Mm-hmm.
And, people walking by the table, not everyone would buy, and there'd be a lot of people who'd be like, oh, I used to smoke and I quit and I worry that this will make me want to again. It's like, fair enough. Like, if you don't, I always say, if you don't smoke, don't start. And if you're worried about that, then I'm not going to tell you to smoke this. But I noticed most people would at least stop and ask about it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, this is herbalism. And, and I can formulate it and put these herbs in that a lot of people maybe have never heard about before. But it's kind of in this form or this medium that is instantly understands what it is and how to work with it.
Right.
Whereas a tincture,
they're
like, what's this? There's alcohol. Like, how do I take it?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I took some. I don't feel anything, So I really like that aspect of it.
I'm also thinking that I know that there are a lot of people that are not able to take, and obviously there's so many ways that you can ingest herbs, but I know a lot of people with tinctures that, if they are sober, they will not take tinctures. Maybe they have to use a different way
a glycerin.
A glycerin or something like that. But this is kind of interesting in the sense that, like, oh, no, this is an alternate to, an alternative way to take the medicine. And get the medicine into your body. So, yeah.
And just seeing like friends at the time who, maybe they were smoking a cigarette when they were out drinking with friends. And then maybe they started smoking too. And then maybe they found themselves smoking the next day, even when they were just home alone, and it has that and kind of insidious kind of addictive holds on that can like really dig its claws into some people.
Right.
And I was like, so many people are choosing to work with plants in whatever form that may be, tobacco and cannabis. They just kind of hit you over their head with their effects. And I was like, I feel like just if so many smokers knew that you could smoke these other plants, then like, maybe they'd smoke a lot less.
Right. That's interesting to think about as well. I also think about the smell. Cigarettes smell so bad to me.
I know. I think so too.
But herbs, they smell great. I think at the clubs in the 90s, that would have been fantastic. Or I'd just been smoking herbs and, instead of cigarettes in there, you would have had nearly the you had to go home and wash all your clothes and
and being like doing what I do, if I'm walking behind someone smoking a tobacco cigarette, I like have to stop and like I can't be behind them. It's awful.
Right. Or the smell of when they're afterwards and you smell it. It's just like,
I know. I had a friend who had to be like, hey, you gotta you smell. But
no, it's true. It's true. Whereas, again, the herbs, I mean, it's going to be a lovely smell. And
and I mean it's still smoke, so that's something to keep in mind. But I find it doesn't really like cling as much or have that kind of, I don't know. It's just like over time in your clothes, like something happens and it smells bad.
Yeah, no, it's awful. So what's on the horizon for Puff Herbals?
Let's see. That's a good question. I guess I recently started selling on Amazon, which has been very interesting.
Is that regulated at all?
So, because what I sell has no tobacco and no nicotine, it's completely federally legal. Although, you do have to sign for it to prove that you are of smoking age.
Right. So you
I make it a point. I make it a point to say you have to be 21. Because some states are 18, some are 21. So I'm just like, okay, 21. This isn't for children.
Sure.
And then I think I would eventually like to get into more like respiratory support supplements. And
What would that look
tinctures
like?
that. So I did create an herbal syrup called Lung Loop
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of meant to be like a smoking digestive, if you will.
Okay.
So, if you think about if you smoke something and maybe you inhale way too much or too quickly, you kind of have smoking is very hot and dry
Right.
energetically.
Right.
So I was like, okay, can I make like a cooling demulcent syrup that would kind of like coat the throat and be anti-spasmodic to like quell coughing. But supplements, as I mentioned before, because smokables, you don't swallow anything, it's not considered a consumable by the FDA.
Oh.
But supplements are, and so that is, it just takes a lot more resources to manufacture those types of products.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. But that being said, I would like to bring that back and have some more products that help quell cravings, like some lobelia, like a lobelia tincture, a calamus root tincture, some herbs that help to help tobacco smokers like in their journey to a tobacco-free life.
Nice. Yeah. Do you see a book in your future?
Yeah, I mean, I've written a zine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's honestly here somewhere. I can't see my camera. Here it is.
On herbal smoking blends or on.
Yes, it's specifically on smokable herbs to ease anxiety.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, because so my undergrad, my bachelor's is in anthropology. So, and then doing museum studies, specifically in ethnobotany. I really like thinking about smoking as this like cultural ritual and how do different subcultures feel about smoking? What do they smoke? I recently just relaunched a clove herbal cigarette. And like there are some subculture, like the black one.
Oh, speaking of the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who, that was like a big part of their scene. And so like how can and just thinking about that if you think about like the smoking circle and like you pass it around and everyone shares and or like asking someone for a cigarette, like a stranger for a cigarette. That is like a very kind of socially acceptable way to like approach a stranger. If you think about like smokers outside of like the bar or the club,
right?
That's like an instant conversation starter.
Right.
Asking someone for a lighter.
Asking somebody for a light.
There
exactly.
There's this culture to it.
Right.
And, there is such a stigma surrounding smoking. And I prefer to approach it from more like a harm reduction kind of almost like an anthropologist. Like, okay, why are you choosing to smoke this and when? And, I don't think teaching abstinence works. Depending on the person, of course.
Right.
But it's like, okay, if you are going to do this, how can we make it better? How can we kind of get you off of, the addiction, or with cannabis even, like, are you managing your stress in any other way? Maybe we could look at that and
right. That is so interesting. Yeah, of course. I love the anthropological approach to kind of answering some of these questions as well, especially in the sense of like, smoking for such a long time was part of, everybody would go outside together and have a cigarette and talk, and is that sort of lost now? I think that you think about like smoking as it almost forced you to take a break and go out and and you had that community, right? You had that like that
Right.
smoking community that they all just like hung out
Yeah.
and had a cigarette together. And I think like
Right.
my parents' age or something, you know, that's was
Mhm.
just part of that, you know.
Right. And, maybe they were smoking a bit too much.
Probably,
But
absolutely.
I think anything I prefer to take a very measured approach to these things,
Hmm.
like these intoxicants or these psychoactive
Hmm.
substances, or these even potentially addicting substances.
Right.
Are you keeping it novel enough that you're still kind of benefiting from it? Is it a catalyst for fostering community
Yeah.
and connection?
Right.
Or is it something that you're relying on like as too much of a crutch?
Yeah.
Like if you think about vaping, like you don't have to go outside. I mean, at least if you're in your own home, you
Right.
don't have to go outside. You don't
Exactly.
have to step away from the screen.
Right.
And you could just kind of be doing it all day.
Right.
And actually consuming way more nicotine than you would maybe if you did smoke.
Oh, I've
Cigarette.
imagined so much more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was so I learned so much. This was so I because this is one of those ways again of herbalism, something that I don't really know a lot about. I'm not a smoker myself, so um, and I was really curious, and I appreciate it so much, like you coming on and answering these questions. It's so great.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
and we're so excited for Puff Herbals. And everything that you're doing, and maybe we'll see a book sometime soon. That would be
Yeah.
cool. That would be really
I
cool.
do have ideas floating around.
That would be amazing. Oh,
Mhm.
well, thank you again so much for being on, and
Of course. Thank you for
yeah,
having me. This is great.
absolutely. Okay, and I'm assuming we will talk really soon.
Sure.
Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.